Hello students, this is Anita Goswami, Assistant Professor in English, Government College Rajgarh Churu and GSU Bikaner. So students, in today's session, we will talk about the poem and the poet Telephone Conversation by Wole Soyinka. And this poem is prescribed in BA Part 3rd of Paper 1st of English Literature in the course MGSU Bikaner. So here we are. So students, here let's first, I have divided this poem and this topic in two lessons. In the first part of this session, we will talk about the poet, about the history, about some biography of the poet Wole Soyinka, and a little bit about the intro or background of this poem. So students, and in the next session we will discuss in detail about the text of this poem. So here we are. So let's start, the students. Akin one day Wole Soyinka. Actually, the whole name is in Yoruba language of Nigeria, and this is the name of Wole Soyinka in Yoruba language, which is his native language. And Wole Soyinka, who was born on 30th July 1934, is a Nigerian playwright, poet and essayist. He was awarded the 1986 Nobel Prize in Literature, and who was the first sub-Saharan African to be honored in that category. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in Abeokuta. In 1954, he attended Government College in Ibadan and subsequently University College Ibadan and the University of Leeds in England. After studying in Nigeria and the UK, he worked with the Royal Court Theatre in London. He went on to write plays that were produced in both countries, in theatres and on radio. He took an active role in Nigeria's political history and its struggle for independence from Great Britain. In 1965, he seized the Western Nigeria Broadcasting Service studio and broadcast a demand for the cancellation of the Western Nigeria regional elections. And in 1967, during the Nigerian Civil War, he was arrested by the federal government of General Yakubu Gowon and put in solitary confinement for 2 years. And Soyinka has been a strong critic of successive Nigerian governments, especially the country's many military dictators, as well as other political tyrannies, including the Mugabe regime in Zimbabwe. Much of his writing has been concerned with the oppressive boot and the irrelevance of the color of the foot that wears it. During the regime of General Sani Abacha, whose tenure was between the 1993 to 1908, Soyinka escaped from Nigeria on a motorcycle via the Nariko route. Abacha later proclaimed a death sentence against him in absentia. With civilian rule restored to Nigeria in 1999, Soyinka returned to his nation. So, in Nigeria, Soyinka was a professor of comparative literature from 1975 to 1999 at the Obafemi Awolowo University, then called the University of Ife. With civilian rule restored to Nigeria in 1999, he was made Professor Emeritus. While in the United States, he first taught at Cornell University as Goldwin Smith Professor for African Studies and Theatre Arts from 1988 to 1991, and then at Emory University, where in 1996 he was appointed Robert W. Woodruff Professor of the Arts. Soyinka has been a professor of creative writing at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and has served as scholar in residence at News Institute of African American Affairs and at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, California, US. He has also taught at the universities of Oxford, Harvard, and Yale. Soyinka was also a distinguished scholar in residence at Duke University in 2008. In December 2017, he was awarded the Europe Theatre Prize in the Special Prize category, awarded to someone who has contributed to the realization of cultural events that promote understanding and the exchange of knowledge between peoples. So now come to the brief background of this poem. The title of this poem, Telephone Conversation, and this poem is a 1963 poem by the Nigerian writer Wole Soyinka that satirizes particularly on the concept, on the theme of racism. So the poem describes a phone call between a landlady and the speaker who is black about renting an apartment. The landlady is pleasant until she learns that the speaker is African, at which point she demands to know how light or dark the speaker's skin is. In response, the speaker cleverly mocks the landlady's ignorance and prejudice, demonstrating that characterizing people by their skin color diminishes their humanity. So, this is the main theme of this poem, which the poet has targeted from the point of view of his personal satirical note on the theme of racism, which has been very beautifully highlighted in this poem, that how racism has become the criteria for judging a person's personality or his individual identity. It is not the individual qualities or the qualifications of an individual, but here the skin, the very much color of the skin of a person has become the measurement of a person's quality, a person's identity. So that is very much highlighted or targeted by the poet in this poem, and we will study this aspect in this poem, in the text of this poem. So in this poem, Telephone Conversation, here Wole Soyinka is trying to highlight the impact of racial discrimination in the microstructure of society. And the title of this poem clearly reveals that two people are talking on the phone, and the theme of racial discrimination is carried out through the dialogue form between the dialogue between the landlady and the tenant. So I hope you have become familiar of the biodata of the biography of this of the poet and a little bit background information of the poem. So thank you, students, and in our next session we will talk about the textual analysis, line by line textual analysis of this poem. And so hope you have understood this. Thank you for today's